Hi, I'm Shawna.
And I'm Liz.
Welcome to Getting Bookish, a weekly podcast where we will talk about different book-related topics, let you know what we're reading, and even answer Q&As from you.
Be sure to visit our website, gettingbookish.com, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Getting Bookish. If you enjoy our podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a rating and review, which helps us to be seen by other book lovers.
With all that said, we hope you'll enjoy Getting Bookish with us.
Enjoy the podcast.
Hello, friends, and thank you for joining us again. Today we have a great conversation. It is one of our favorite topics because it is all about our 2019 reading challenges, and I know that we are already into March, maybe April by the time you hear this, but it doesn't matter because our challenges are going strong. We can't wait to share them with you, and we hope that you also let us know what your challenges are. So let's get into what are our reading challenges.
Yay! I feel like it's one of my favorite things I do, like in December. It's like after Christmas, I'm like, oh, now I'm going to put together some book goals for the next year. Like other people are setting New Year's resolutions and I am
writing book lists.
Yes, it's
so
like
exciting.
The best part. And so usually the first thing I do is I decide how many books I'm going to read the next year.
Yes.
So
what is that number?
This year my goal is to read 100.
Okay. That's a pretty big goal.
It is. Especially because that was also my goal last year, and I read 78.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a way to not finish strong. I'm just kidding.
Thanks a lot.
That's impressive. 78 books. Wow.
At the end of the year, I was like, oh, I think I'm so far off from my goal. But I'd actually read a lot more than I thought I had. It had just been kind of crazy, and I wasn't able to make as much time to read as I wanted to, which meant that coming into this year, it was just one of my goals to be purposeful in making that time to read.
Yeah, my reading goal was originally going to be 150 books.
Which is amazing.
That is 12 books a month. And I was good for January, I was good for February, but then March came and, just things happened, family, all this stuff, and I kind of slowed down. So I'm like adjusting it, but I can. So my goal is actually also going to be 100 books, which is still really high. And it's actually the first time I've ever set a goal for how many books I want to read. Usually I just read through and then I just count them up. So I don't really know what to base it on. So I kind of just stole your 100.
That's okay. Well, and I'm impressed that your very first time and you set like such a great goal. I think the first time I set a reading goal, it was like 25 because that's what Goodreads recommends when you go in. And that's why I started setting like a yearly number is because Goodreads they just have it all set up for you and they keep track and it's wonderful. And I like that format. But yeah, I think my very first time setting a reading goal was 25. So
which is really good though. Because if you think about it, that's 2 books a month. And I know a lot of people that are like, how do you read that much? I maybe finish a book in 6 months.
Right.
So to do 2 books a month, and even if your goal is to read 1 book a month or 1 book every other month, just set the goal.
Yeah.
And
well,
work
and
towards
some people aren't fast readers.
Right.
When I worked at the library, the head librarian, she wasn't a fast reader. She's like, some people are reading, 8 books a month. She's like, I'm reading 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because she didn't make a lot of time to read. She just read her books really slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that it's nice to like make that number and have it be a big number.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's probably an impractical goal. So don't feel like you have to set your goal at 100 books. Like
no. Just set some goal. And if you're new to reading or getting back to reading, 6 books even. that's a book every other month.
Right.
Pick out those 6 books and start. And what I get really excited about are the book challenges that you can find like on Instagram or that authors give out, which I'm so excited about, and I want to share some of these and see what you have. But first, let's talk about like what is a reading challenge, because we keep saying that, but if somebody's never done a reading challenge, they might be thinking, where do you get a reading challenge? What does that mean? It means a couple different things.
I think that we see reading challenges set up a lot of different ways. Like at a library during the summer, they often do a reading challenge for kids, and it's like based on minutes, and it's just to encourage reading over the summer. I think that the reading challenges that we're talking about, like sometimes they're thematic and sometimes they're like challenging you to read something different, or just maybe getting out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
I tend to read a lot of YA fantasy, as we've discussed before. Yeah. And so I think that reading challenges are really good for me because they encourage me to not just read that same book over and over and over again.
Right. And thus we have the word challenge.
Yes.
Because it's stuff that you wouldn't normally pick. Like I'm always in World War II. You can always find me in World War II. and I can always
Shawna
find...
is a time traveler by day when we're not doing the podcast.
Again, I can visit that time period anytime I want, but I'm safe. So I want to share some of the reading challenges. I have my bullet journal. And
hold that up longer. How cute is this?
This one is one of my bingos.
I love it.
So this is a to be read bingo. These are not all of my to be read books, but they're just the ones that fit on this bingo card just for fun, because I like crossing things off.
I love it. I tried to bullet journal. It wasn't something I was ever very successful at, but I love the way it looks.
Yes, it's so cute. And then I did this one. So this reading challenge is from Hope by the Book 2019 reading challenge. They have a reading challenge, and then they have a second one if you want to read more, and that's for the voracious and insatiable reader. So what I did was I put what the challenges were, and then I drew book spines. So like they're on shelves, and then every time I read one of the books, I fill in a book spine. I don't know if you can see that. There's about 3 books that I have to add to this. But like I read this book, Dark Matter, and so the book is red. So I colored it red, I put Dark Matter, and that was a book that fulfilled predominantly red cover. Oh. So it was perfect.
I love a challenge that's like that. I mean, there's so many different books. It's not you have to read this specific title.
Yeah.
But let me just say, that whole format is so adorable. I love the little stick people.
Aren't they cute?
Holding the books up. They're so cute. I am jealous over how stinking adorable that is.
I have another one. This one I actually saw somebody else do on Instagram. So I am not claiming this one as my own creative mind, but I thought it was so cute, so I copied it. This particular challenge is the Modern Mrs. Darcy challenge, and there's 12 books, and once again I color in a spine. It happens to be that I read a lot of blue books. I don't know, there's a lot of blue. And
for those of you who are listening and can't see this, It's so cute how she has this set up. It's drawn like a little bookshelf.
Yes.
And then she has the books like already sketched in, so she gets to color them in.
Yes. And if you are listening on podcasts and you want to see, hop over to our YouTube channel at Getting Bookish and check out the visuals. So, and I kind of like that. I like coloring in things. So drawing the books and then writing them and coloring them in, checking them off is something that's very exciting to me. So those are 2 of the challenges that I have. Another one I have is, The Unread Shelf Project. Oh my goodness. The Unread Shelf Project 2019. Again, this is on Instagram. This one is the one that has rules. So the other ones you read what it lists, but this one has a couple of specific rules, and I knew I had to do this one. So the first rule is the book has to come from my unread shelf. I can't go out and buy it. I can't rent it. I can't check it out from the library. It has to be mine, because the whole purpose of what she said is we collect books and we hoard books, which is totally fine. But
I'm all for that.
Yeah. But we should also be reading the books, because there was a particular reason why you picked out that book or why you bought it or why you borrowed it. And I think sometimes we're so excited to buy books that we forget why we bought them in the first place, and we need to read them. So her thing is, for her particular challenge, the book has to come from my unread shelf, and I have to finish that particular book by the end of the month or get rid of it, because if I can't read this book in a month, it's not a book that I need to keep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
cutthroat.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's good though, because if you really want to keep it,
read it.
You just need to sit down and read it.
Yeah. So,
no, I love that. I think that that's very inspiring, because it's I was just having this conversation today with someone at the bookstore about how difficult it is when you come in and you have like a specific book and you're like, okay, I'm going to go in. This book just came out. I'm going to go in and get this book. But then after being in there for 2.5 seconds, you're like, but look at all the other books.
Yeah.
They need to come home with me. They must be adopted.
Yes.
Like, and it's hard. And then all of a sudden you have more books than you'll ever read in your lifetime.
Yes. Or sometimes I get caught up on Instagram, and then I'm just adding to my Amazon cart. Like, oh, I need that one. Oh, I need that one. Well, I have to have this one.
Right.
I'm like, okay, this is going to be one of those times where I need to get the mail before my husband does, because those Amazon packages are going to be stacking up. And he's going to say, do you really need more books? Yes.
Yes. What kind of question is this?
Right, exactly. Thankfully,
Don't shame my book buying.
Right. Do you have any challenges like that you're doing that you found on Instagram or anything?
The one official challenge that I'm doing is from Book Riot, and it's the Read Harder Challenge.
I've heard
and
of
I
that.
actually, yes.
So cute.
Look, isn't this cute? So this is the journal that goes along with the challenge, and my friend who owns the bookstore knew that I was doing the challenge and actually got this for me. And I love how it's set up, because it has like this form to fill out.
Oh, I love that.
Which works really well for me, because I am not good at sticking with things, which is why I think bullet journaling, even though I love it, wasn't good for me, because I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to like write down the new month or something. Yeah. and it wasn't good. It wasn't something I ever stayed on top of. But so what you do is you like fill in the information, and then it even has like this section where you can like keep track of notes and quotes, which is great if you're going to like write reviews, which I always try to do afterward. And then like you get to give it a rating, A through F, so it's very like school-esque.
Oh,
but
I've never seen one that does a rating A through F.
Yeah, I've always done a star rating.
Okay.
That's usually how I mean, that's how Goodreads has it set up. Yeah. And but yeah, so we have an A through F rating in here. But as you go through, so you have a place to write down 5 books that are your books, and then they present a challenge.
Oh.
And so the challenges for the Read Harder books, one of them is to read a book about books, or to read a book you would normally consider a guilty pleasure, which is actually one I had a hard time with.
Really?
Because I feel like everything I read.
Well, that's true.
I read because I love it.
Right. So just pick any book. Close your eyes and pick a book.
Right. And so I just chose a YA fantasy because I was like, I guess that's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I just should feel guilty more often. I don't, but evidently I should. I don't know. The one I'm having a hard time with is a book about a current social or political issue.
Oh.
So I think that one's going to be challenging to come up with.
I have
but
one,
this one has,
like that on mine as well.
Yeah, and that's just not a genre I've ever read.
Right, I'm trying to find mine. Oh, mine is features politicians.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Could it be a fictional book that features a politician? Because isn't there that new one that has like Bill Clinton as a fictional main character? It's like a mystery. I
haven't heard of that.
Completely off base with this.
No, you might be right.
I saw the cover at the bookstore, and I was like,
"What is that?"
Bill Clinton? And I was like, "Oh, it is."
You know, it's funny for the current view, or what was it that you said was challenging?
Oh,
what was it called? The subject?
It is a book about a current social or political issue.
I have this book that I'm really excited to read. It's a memoir, and it's called The Girl with Seven Names.
Oh.
And it's about her escape from North Korea.
Wow.
And so I think that might fulfill that, something like that.
Right, because that would be a social issue.
Right.
Oh, and thinking about it that way makes me feel like it's actually one I could read rather than I'm going to have to skip that one.
Yeah, and I love memoirs because I feel like people's lives are so fascinating, and it doesn't have to be this dramatic or traumatic thing that happened to them. It's everybody has a different life, and I love reading about them. So I'm wondering if something like that would fulfill that. But if anybody listening has any ideas or books they've read that they would recommend, please let us know. You can go onto our Facebook page, which is at Bookish. My goodness, what a plug that is. At Getting
Bookish.
Thank you. Or email us at gettingbookishinfo@gmail.com.
We'll get this all figured out eventually.
Right? There was
a very polished happening that we have.
I know. There was one that I thought I was going to have problems with finding, and where like literal problems finding because I just had it. Oh, here it is.
Before we started, you guys have to know, I got to see Shawna walk in with her stack of books, and it's an impressive stack. Yes. So the fact that she can't find a book right now is fair because it's quite the stack of books.
I'm buried under books. It was one that is a book in translation. So when I thought of a book in translation, I thought boring because I was uneducated in what that means, and that's not what it means at all. I've probably read books in translation and never realized it, but I picked this one up at the library, and you're not going to be shocked, but it's The Librarian of Auschwitz.
Oh.
Yeah. And I say that you're not going to be shocked because for our new listeners I read so many books on the Holocaust and World War II. So whenever I say, oh, I found a new book, people will probably more than likely assume that it has something to do with World War II. But this, I was just reading the jacket, and it is, I think it was originally written in Spanish.
Oh, how interesting.
Yes. And I was really excited to read that because I didn't pick it up because it was a translated book. I just picked it up because this is my genre. And then I was like, oh, it's a book in translation. And look, YA.
And it's YA. It's just checking off all the boxes for us right now.
So I'm really excited. But you read a book in translation. We were talking about that the other day. Do you remember?
Yeah. Cornelia, I think it's Cornelia Funk. It's Funke. It's German. She writes several series for children, which are all fantastic. But she wrote the Reckless series, and it's more of
Okay.
a YA series, and it's kind of fantasy based. And they're all originally written in German, and I did not know that until I went to see when the next book was coming out. And in frustration, I was like, why is there already a copy of it in German? And then I realized I'm not the center of the universe, and books are written in other languages.
Right.
And so I didn't even realize any of those were translated books until I had already read the first several in the series, but they're fantastic. So that's the only like formal reading challenge that I'm doing is the
Okay.
Read Harder challenge, but I have challenged myself to read more diversely this year.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a vague it's a vague challenge because I haven't specifically said like I'm going to read this many books that are about people who are different than I am, or I'm going to read this many books that are outside of my regular genres. I just want to be more purposeful in my decisions and read more books that aren't YA fantasy,
Yeah.
or just are outside of what I would consider kind of my reading comfort zone.
Mhm.
And so to do that, I joined Book of the Month Club, which
love it.
it's only my second month, but it's super fun. And so last month I got 2 books that are outside, and I showed this one in our last
Yes.
podcast, but The Age of Light,
World War II.
which is, yes, takes place in World War II. And I used to read almost exclusively historical fiction.
Mhm.
And it was kind of something, I don't know, I grew out of it, I guess. And so I'm really excited to read this one. I love reading about Paris and France, which is where the book takes place. And so I'm really looking forward to it. But again, it's just a little bit outside of my regular reading comfort zone. And then this one, The Library Book
I
by
want to read
Susan
that.
Lee. I've only heard fantastic things about it. So it's about the Los Angeles
Fire, right?
library. Yeah, and they had a fire, and it was catastrophic. It destroyed so many books, and she wanted to write this book about that event because people don't really know about it because it happened the same day as Chernobyl.
Oh.
And so it didn't get a lot of news coverage,
Right.
even though if it had happened a week later,
Right.
everyone would have been talking about it. No one really talked about it because something catastrophic was happening in the world.
Right.
And so I'm really excited, like being a librarian and just, being a book nerd. Like, how does this not sound like a really exciting book? So this one is more nonfiction, more... It's not a memoir because she's not first person. She didn't experience it, but she did all the research. She did lots of interviews, kind of, the New York Times book review kind of compared it to like investigative journalism.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of what she did to do the research for the book. So I'm really excited to read it. But that was a whole little early book review of the library book. But I'm excited to read those books that are just kind of outside of my, my everyday, what I just gravitate toward naturally.
Yeah, I have one that is way outside of my comfort zone, The Silent Patient.
Ooh.
And
is that scary?
It is. It is. And it's
I'm already like cringing. I'm like, oh no.
I know. And it just says Alicia's life is seemingly perfect. One evening her husband returns home late from work and she shoots him 5 times in the face and then never speaks another word. So she's the silent patient.
That like gave me chills.
Yes, and that is not a book that I read. I mean, it's just not. I don't read the murder mystery type thing, but I heard so many great things about this book, and I I feel like they're doing a movie on it, which I don't want to know anything about if they are. I heard briefly, and I was like, oh, if that's the case, I need to hurry up and read it before I'm influenced by the movie. Even though I won't watch the movie before, but I don't want to be influenced by the characters they choose, the actors, the way that they
it's hard.
Produce it.
Once you have that picture in your mind,
you can't let it go.
No, like I just finished Good Omens.
Yes.
And they are Netflix? Amazon is making...
Is it Amazon?
It's either Amazon or Netflix.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure someone can tell us in the comments.
Right.
But, so they're making it into a series, and I won't spoil it because I know that I don't want to spoil it for you, but I already knew a couple of the people who were going to be playing roles in the book.
Okay.
And it's hard to not have their face in your mind
Right.
while you're reading, even if it doesn't match up with the description of the character that you're reading.
Yes.
And so, like, I'll be like, okay, I'm picturing the person, and I'm reading this, like, physical description, and I'm like, well, this doesn't match up at all. But I still couldn't let that go in my mind.
It's so frustrating. So I need to hurry up and read it if that's the case. And then another one that I have that I'm really excited about, this is also, well, it's semi outside of my comfort zone. It's called Garlic and Sapphires.
Oh.
And this is by Ruth, I want to say Reichel. Hope I didn't mess that up. And she's a food critic in New York, I believe. And she goes in, and of course they have her picture up in the back of the kitchen so that when the cook or the waiters see her, they're like, give her the best plate it beautifully, make it amazing, because she's gonna write the reviews. And so they take it out to her. Yeah, and so of course they give her the best no matter where she goes. So she teams up with, I believe it's her friend who does movie makeups. If I'm wrong, it's just because I read the jacket a while ago and I'm going off of my memory, which is terrible. Somebody that helps her disguise herself every time she goes into a restaurant. So sometimes she'll just go in and look like somebody off the street with like a short blonde bob. And then the next time,
love it.
yeah,
so that
the next time she'll go in as kind of, maybe middle working class with long brunette hair or something, or like in a business suit, or she'll go in looking very fancy and sophisticated. And so nobody knows that it's her. And then so she gets the actual experience.
Right.
And then she writes on that. So I'm excited to read that.
So when you said her name, I was like, that sounds so familiar. I actually just got an early copy of Save Me the Plums, which is also by her.
Oh, really?
So
what is that about?
It says trailblazing food writer and beloved restaurant critic took a job of a lifetime when she entered the glamorous high-stakes world of magazine publishing.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Yeah, I was like, why does that name sound so familiar? But it's because I need to read it. And so that one comes out on April 2nd, and they say the genre is autobiography. So
okay.
Well, the next book I'm reading, I'm not branching out with. It's The Gilded Wolves.
Ooh, I like that cover.
Isn't that gorgeous?
I love greens and purples. That's so
it's
pretty.
Beautiful. Yeah, I don't even want to read the inside cover because I feel like, sometimes they're just off.
Mm-hmm.
But it was compared to Six of Crows, which is a really fun YA series about kind of this group of misfits who steal things. And it takes place in this fantasy world. And so it was kind of compared to that. So I think it'll have some of those same elements. But it just came out, and I've been so desperately trying to avoid spoilers. And so I feel like I need to read it before someone is like, can you believe how this ended?
Right?
And then spills the beans. So before we leave, I want to also talk about our 1,000 books to read before you die, because I'm kind of approaching this book as one of my challenges for the year also.
Yes.
To inspire some different books, to find some books that are not just those books in my comfort zone. So
yeah, and you checked off, I think you said about 15%. So you've read about 150 books, which I think is really impressive. I haven't tallied up my list yet, but I don't think it's going to be as much as yours.
And it was kind of fun. Like, on the inside cover, I actually wrote the date, and it's 152 books that I've read with the date. Because I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to, like, keep track, like, to hang on to this book for the rest of my reading life.
Yes.
And to keep track, and, like, to keep, like, tallying them up. Like, and be like, oh, 3 years later, I'm going to tally them up again and be like, oh, I've read another, 20 books.
Yes, that
on
would be
the
amazing.
list, and have that date written in there. So,
yeah, I think that's a great idea. And then it's kind of like a journal by itself. But I really like this book. If you guys have not had a chance to check this one out, 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die by James, was it Mustick? I think that, I'm so sorry.
I don't remember
if I'm mispronouncing that. But what he does is he goes and he puts it's not just a list in here. He puts together, it's really beautiful how he puts it together. But there's reviews, colored, beautiful pictures, and why he added these books in here. And it's anywhere from children's books to modern day. There's classics, there's fantasy, there's short story essays.
Right.
Everything.
Well, like The Interpretation of Dreams by Sigmund Freud, Twilight, and Winnie the Pooh are all in here.
Twilight was in there?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I am sure. I thought it was Twilight that was in here. Now I'm doubting myself. But I feel like
I did see Anne Rice, but that's a totally different vampire book.
It's a very different, yes. But just kind of the amazing variety, which is why I think I read more than I thought I was going to have, yet less than I would have hoped to have checked off.
Right.
And I think the only reason why I was able to check off so many is because I was a literature major in college. Like, I have an English degree, and we read a lot.
Yeah, so you had to.
So I was able to check off a lot because of that. But I think, like, if you took those college years out, I would not have checked off nearly as many books.
For sure. And just to let you know, Twilight is in here.
It is? Okay, yes. I thought it was. So it's a really fun list.
It is. And I have no doubt that anybody could find a book in there that they would like, because there's so many. Yeah. I think so too. And my goal isn't to read all of them. I mean, maybe Why
that's
not?
the goal in the back of my mind. But
Let's do it.
But I'm really looking forward to reading books that I wouldn't have come across otherwise. I think that it's hard to find books that haven't been published recently. Like, it's hard to find reviews for those things unless a friend reads it.
Right.
And so that's what I really liked about this, is like, I'm reading reviews for books that were written in like 49, and I'm like, I would have never even thought to look this book up somewhere. Yeah. So I'm really excited about my reading goals for 2019.
Yes,
and
me too.
I'm so excited for all of your reading challenges that you're doing. I love all of them. I'm very intrigued by the Unshelved. Is that what it was called?
Yes, the Unshelved Reading Project. And you can actually find it... Where did my bullet journal go? You can actually find it on Instagram by going to... Let's see. Hashtag the Unread Shelf Project 2019.
Well, I'm definitely going to have to go check it out.
Yes.
Because I'm so guilty of doing that. They just all have such pretty covers.
I know.
It's hard not to find them all.
the challenge for March was a book that's been on the shelf the longest.
Oh. And if you don't read it, you have to get rid of it.
Yes. And so I haven't figured out. I'm finishing a book right now, so after that one's over, I got to look into this. And then April is the book I most recently acquired. So you have like both ends of the spectrum.
Oh.
Right there. I'm like, can I buy a book really quick, throw it on my shelf, and then for April I'll be like,
that's the most recent one. I think this very specific rules would say no.
I like how I'm trying to cheat my way through my own challenge. That nobody
that's
is
the good
like
thing about the challenges.
No, nobody's checking.
No one's checking.
Well, if you guys have any challenges that you're doing, I would love to hear them, and I'm pretty sure Liz would too, because we are just nerdy about challenges, and if there's some out there that we haven't discussed, let us know, and let us know what you're reading, and if you are doing a challenge, let us know what books are on your challenge or what is on your unread shelf list.
Yes. Well, I'm super excited to hear from everyone. They can check us out on Instagram and Facebook and our website. And yeah, let us know. What are you reading?
All right, we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed hanging out with us. Don't forget to check us out on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any of the fun. See you next week.